The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, folks of all ages, to Bird's Eye View. I am Jesse, and a couple weeks ago, I was going solo. I was flying solo, so to speak. And so now I guess we are overcompensating. We are making up for it, and so we have two people on here with me. Mike is back as normal. There's a small one near him, which is might actually be hopping on today.
Wide awake, yeah. Unfortunately.
And then we have a special guest, Howard Herman, in here, who for whatever reason is representing some Ivy League rich people.
A pen hat and an Endicott sweatshirt.
Yes,
it's a mixed bag.
You know he's a toshpot. What does Hank have to say over there?
That's a good question. He hasn't watched any baseball yet. Haven't ventured. It's been too cold to bring him to any games so far. But I imagine that day is coming sooner rather than later. It may have been today if we have like 26 games on the schedule today, but it may be a washout, so to speak.
I bet Hank's a lax boy. I imagine he's going to be running around hitting people with the stick.
No, I think he's going to be a track and field guy.
No, because they're going to do cross country to make Mike happy. But I think they're going to do other sports elsewhere.
Yeah, well, the elder one had Laxboro hair for a while.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
So by the way, I said it to Mike just before you came in. The pictures of him and his other child on the slopes at Bosque is pretty funny.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
He does snowboard. Yes, they will hopefully both snowboard. And I mean, if they want to ski, I will swallow it and allow them.
Wow, allow them, he said.
Did you
he
ever
didn't say I'm going to support them? He said I will allow them.
Did you ever ski?
I watch.
Or were
I
you
did ski.
always a snowboarder?
I skied for 2 or 3 years as a youth. Probably. I think I learned to snowboard at like 15.
Before Mike found the good word of the snowboard.
Absolutely.
The
Until I watched Johnny Tsunami. Are you familiar with Johnny Tsunami?
Sounds familiar.
I'm like in the middle of a generation gap here between these two guys. So if you're ever familiar with the Disney Channel original films or Disney Channel original movies,
that's where it sounded like it was from.
Johnny Tsunami is a surfer kid who moves to Vermont and learns to snowboard. And there's a battle between the skies and the urchins. How long do you want me to go? How deep do we want me to go? Before we talk high school baseball.
I'm gonna look this one up because this does sound like vaguely familiar.
Do you remember the guy Lee? Lee Child? No, not Lee Child.
That's the guy. That's the guy who wrote Jack
Reacher.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Who played the famous Jet Jackson? He died a handful of years ago, but
I don't know.
He was in the movie.
Okay, so this is just like Karate Kid, but for snowboarding.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now that we had
There's
that
no
out of the
Mr.
way.
Miyagi in it, though. I will say.
Now that we had that out of the way.
We're here to generally talk baseball because baseball season kind of started for most teams, maybe 50% of the teams. Yeah, we're in the midst of that general first week of the spring season in the Berkshires, which is a mixed bag always. And
it was. I had 2 games this week. It was cold both days, but on one day it was sunny and nice, and on the second day, yesterday, as Jesse full well knows, it was cloudy.
And then
it was windy, and it kind of sleeted. Yeah.
No, not too
Which happened to me a year ago. It was a Wacona softball game on a Saturday morning, and I can remember it being sunny, and then it snowing, and then it being sunny.
Yeah, no, I remember because
just your typically awful April.
Yeah, I was at Taconic Baseball yesterday, and it was like sunny out and really nice, and I had my hoodie and my windbreaker, and all of a sudden the sun went away, and like the end of the first, beginning of the second inning, and I went, oh, I'm really cold now. So that wasn't too great.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
No, the young fellow from Berkshires who was covering the Pittsfield game yesterday did not have a coat.
Yeah, he's just a Pittsfield kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is.
But he
pretty
did
funny.
not have a coat.
Yeah. No. Well, he's a high school kid. That doesn't.
generous.
He
matter.
did not have a coat.
No, he's a high school boy. He doesn't
repeats.
count. He doesn't count. He's a high school boy. They're,
Well,
they're
the
a
high
special
school
breed.
the high school boys on the bench all had hand warmers. So yeah, there's no excuse.
He played for Brian Jaszewski. He plays for he Cold
One
is
of, those, one of those football coaches in shorts all year round.
Oh yeah. No, Brian. When it's 32 degrees out on a Friday night in October, and you see Jaszewski out there in the shorts, you know it's real high school football season. In any case, let's talk a little spring sports.
It was opening day in the city.
Opening
we can
day in the
say,
city.
for sure.
Taconic lost on Monday to Westfield. They
Who is
won.
always very good.
Always very good. Westfield was
And that-
the
'cause
Class
they-
A
'cause-
champ last year, was a Final Four team in D2.
And they are, and that league with Pittsfield and Taconic and Westfield and Pope Francis and West Springfield, in my opinion, is the strongest Western Mass baseball league anywhere of any teams.
It's definitely
There are no weak teams in that league. There may be better teams in other leagues, but the fifth place team in that league is as good as some of the best teams in other leagues, and even the league like with Central and Longmeadow. And Longmeadow's a very good baseball team, but they're not on the same level as any of the 5 teams in the suburban West or whatever they're called, the
Yeah.
Valley West.
I think there's no. You're right. I think it's like the suburban West. I think Central's in the suburban East. And yeah, so then Wednesday, Taconic had its first home game of the season, and they won. They won 7-6 against Springfield Central, which is a very good program. It's always very competitive, even though it plays in Division One. Ben Storr, who's the new head coach, took over for Kevin Stannard, got his first win leading the program. It went from a blowout to all of a sudden a very, very hairy game. It was 1-0 Central after the first inning. Then Taconic ties it up 1-1 in the second. Oh, there we go.
He's
Oh
just
wow,
gonna
he
be
looks
talking the
he
whole
looks
time.
incredibly like Sarah.
Which is a good thing.
Which is hey, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, Ever looks like him, so I guess this makes sense, right?
It evens out.
Evens out. There we go. Oh, he's very small.
So is that the biggest?
So in any
small.
case,
Is that the biggest story of the going into the season? Is the Standard departure? Is that the biggest story, or is it?
I would say
something
that
else?
that has to be up
Pittsfield,
there.
Obviously,
It would.
went to
I think.
Polar Park last
I
year.
think it's 2 to Pittsfield as 1 because
Yeah.
Pittsfield was the state finalist last year,
Yeah.
and
just
basically has almost everybody back.
Yeah, it's
That's fair.
reading your story yesterday, Howard's story. It's just it's just a murderer's row of kids that I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's back too. Holy cow!
And what's funny is you shot enough of their games last year, and I think you saw a couple of their games last year. Drew Pierce doesn't have as many kids on his bench this year as he did a year ago.
I mean, I believe his JV unit is very large. So
That's
probably why.
But the JV unit was very large last year also. But I think he learned some. You don't want as many guys sitting around. And that team yesterday, it was funny. First batter strikeout swinging. Second batter.
Sorry, you should say Pittsfield pitcher Jay Cody struck out the first Longmeadow batter swinging.
And then the second one hits a ground ball to second base where freshman Sebastian Herrera was, and he boots it for an error. Alex Carasoto from Rip City was standing next to me, and he looks at me and says, "The ball always finds the new kid."
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's honestly.
And he played really well defensively. He's the 10th guy, so he didn't hit yesterday, but he's part of that really good group of young kids around Berkshire County.
Yeah.
That includes kids like Robbie Bazinet at Lennox because they were all Little League and Babe Ruth teammates. And it's just like it doesn't matter around here. You get more, kids just keep coming.
Another graduate of the Ty Peralt School.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bazinet has been now like a second-year varsity player because he goes to Lennox, whereas Herrera had to wait.
Almost a third-year varsity player because he was on the varsity as a seventh.
Yeah.
He was on the varsity as a seventh grader.
But yeah, I mean, with Taconic, I mean, I think it was very like the coaching wasn't the issue, which is really impressive for a rookie head coach. Obviously, he has lots of experience in Little League and in Babe Ruth. He coached the Babe Ruth 13s to the World Series championship runner-up spot in 2022. And
was the coach of everyone on the Pittsfield High roster right now.
It's pretty much like he's basically in one way, shape, or form has coached everyone at PHS for Taconic.
Yeah, he comes over from being the JV coach.
Right, but I just mean he's coached both kids from Babe Ruth and whatever. In any case, knew when to come in and push buttons, knew when to take mound meetings. Taconic, I think their biggest issue last year was just being able to get those runs across when they needed to, and they got huge third and fourth innings to blow the game open. Eddie Ferris hit a 2-run home run, which is great to see because they need someone who can just kind of have the big bat, and that was him. And then later on, it starts getting dicey because Central makes a comeback, and bottom of the 6th inning, it's 7-4. And Taconic loads the bases with 1 out and can't get any across. And it's like, this is what happened last year. And sure enough, Central, scores and makes it 7-6. And, Ben sort of takes a mound meeting. Quentin Christopher had been the starter. He pitched 5 innings. And I think you could tell also Christopher's coming off basketball season. And he's probably, I think it easily took him 2 innings. I don't know what the proper term for get your feet under you is for baseball, get your arm under you, whatever. And then in 3rd, 4th, 5th, he was kind of dealing. And I think Gavin Mafuccio, but with the cold and all that, first varsity start. And so, but there was 2 runners on, no outs, 7-5, and they get a double play. Central scores, but they get a double play. And I think that was just, they needed something to get breathe, and they got that. And then Mafuccio strikes out the final batter. And so it's like, all right, we're okay. Win 7-6. It's good
to get a win under your belt when you're a team that's kind of facing a lot of unknowns.
There are no style points in baseball.
There are no style.
You win, you lose.
Yeah.
Especially just year one, for Ben Storr to get his win out of the way, for even Mafuccio to get out of the way. They have some kids who aren't returning. So it's a somewhat newish roster,
and it's going to.
And
I think the key guy for them is going to be Eddie Ferris.
Agreed.
He was a secondary piece last year when you still had a bunch of seniors who graduated, but he's back, and started this year at center field.
Yep.
He's been an infield. He was an infielder last year.
He made a great play in center field. There was kind of this shallowish single. He comes flying in, dives, snags it, pops it up. Just a missile to first base because the central runner went to second and wasn't paying attention. So he throws it to first before the central runner can get back to second, and it's a double play.
That's a football guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was really funny. When he passed third on the home run trot, Ben Storr gave him the handoff.
Yeah. But he's got to be real important for a while because while the O'Donnell twins have been cleared, it's going to take them a little while to get going, and they were really important, especially playing infield and outfield, good glove guys, good speed guys. The incredible coincidence is they both tore up the same knee playing soccer.
Poor irony.
At the same time.
Poor irony.
At the same time, and I covered their parents when they were at Pittsfield, and I saw their mom one day. I said, "Do you get a discount because you can have them both go in at the same time?"
There's no discount on knees, unfortunately. Unless you have twins, I don't think there's discounts on knees.
Well, they are twins, so yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, not on the second option. You only get one set of knees. So after that, it's on you. And then as for Pittsfield, it seemed kind of like Jay Cody was dealing and Pittsfield was cruising.
He's developed a slurve, which is like a combination curveball slider.
And, by the way, that sounds like a slur.
Yeah, but the Longmeadow kids couldn't touch it at all. They were able to get around on his fastball, and what's always interesting is who Drew Pierce uses to close. And yesterday, even though it was a one-sided game by then, Simon Melly comes out of the bullpen, throws nothing but heat.
I was saying he's usually a starter, so it's interesting that he's going
to start. They're all going to start. It's interesting. I've talked to every coach now, And not everybody has a legitimate number one guy, but just about every coach, with one or two possible exceptions, said got a bunch of arms. And, and we're all pretty happy with that. I mean, you've got, obviously, Cody at Pittsfield, Jamison Bayless at Mount Greylock, a legit...
Connor Hinkle at Drury.
Although Hinkle
he might not be the number one, to be honest. There.
Yeah.
Rylander's probably their number one. They go 1-2, but yeah.
I mean, Hinkle was the number one last year. I don't think they're worried about Mahar.
Yes, but the point is, but so many of these guys, Dan Lanou at Mount Everett says, we've got a bunch of guys who can throw. Tom Hankey's happy with where his numbers are, real happy with the young guys on his team, and he's got a bunch of, and maybe Jack Bazillion falls into that as an ace category down there. They have to find a bat for Jack's brother, Cole, who's at UMass Boston now. But it seems like a lot of teams have a lot of good arms. Maybe it's going to take a while for somebody else to develop a staff ace, but at least, it's not going to be like, you throw the staff ace and then, it's five guys the next day.
All right, we'll talk more about the rest of the county, maybe even a little softball. We'll see what happens, but stay tuned here on WTBR and WSBR.
Where does democracy actually begin? Well, it begins right here at home, at our local city and school meetings, the place where really big decisions are made that affect you and your family directly. With good TV coverage, these decisions are transparent. Our residents are well informed, and elected officials are held accountable. Without reliable coverage, these decisions go under the radar. Support PCTV's local meeting coverage today. Pittsfield Community Television. Democracy starts here.
WTBR-FM is listener-supported radio. That means we depend on your donations to keep the station on the air. All the local content and the music you love requires your support. You can make your donation today at WTBR-FM.com by calling 445-4234 or stopping by our studio at 4 Federico Drive in Pittsfield. You'll be glad you did. Pittsfield Community Radio, for the love of radio.
Welcome back to WTBR-FM, 89.7 WTBR-FM, Pittsfield, 88.1 WSBR Lee, should be official there. Welcome back. It's a full house today, or a full nest, I guess, I should say. Jesse, I'm joined by Mike, and we have special guest Howard Herman. We also have Hankus Pankus over there.
So
Right.
I'm not the special guest. He's the special
I should mention
guest.
I will not be coughing any worms into his mouth.
No,
Before I keep the bird analogies going.
I will not be calling child services in that case. Hank is he's a special guest in the sense that he's
Silent partner.
Yeah, he's the angel investor who silently watches over from afar.
Korean's funny.
Although I don't know how silent he's been.
Isn't
So
it?
far.
No, this is a rarity. Now he's
Usually
he's
sound
engaged.
asleep.
Well, you know what it is? Maybe he's just a baseball guy because when we talk every other sport, he didn't care. He'd just stay in the corner. We talked baseball. Howard came in. He said, "All right,
Time
we're
to-
there.
time.
I'm ready to go."
Oh, boy.
So I'm just kind of looking at what else happened in the county yesterday.
We had three more kind of baseball blowouts. So Mount Everett, Drury, and Mount Greylock all got their seasons started with kind of they hung double digits. And like we were saying, with nobody has kind of that ace, it was Sean Warren going for Mount Everett, who I would argue was probably their number 2 pitcher behind Matt Lowe.
And they beat Lee, I should say.
Same with Drury. They get a combined no-hitter from Carson Rylander, Connor Hinkle, and then Jamison Bayless did go for Greylock, but that was really a 3-4 inning game, something like that.
And the no hitter gets an asterisk because
Yes,
it was only a 5-inning no hitter.
5-inning no-hitter.
Who are we talking about?
The Drury game.
Both actually. So Mount Everett
yeah.
threw a combined 5-inning no-hitter as well against Lee.
Yeah. I was gonna say and I know. Or no, that wasn't a no hit. Whatever. In any case, I know. Last year, all the big games, Drury gave it to Connor Hinkle to pitch, and that includes like the Western Mass Final. I think Carson Rylander was kind of their ace reliever. So we'll see how that works out this year. Like I said, I don't think they were really all that concerned about Mahar. We'll see what happens when they face Lennox and McCann and Greylock and all those like that. But it is good that they have that kind of great pitching depth, and scoring 13 runs to start your season, not a bad way to do it. Poor Lee, they still can't get over the hump right now. Lose 10-0 to Mount Everett.
They're young. I talked to Tim Shepardson last night. They're young, even though they're experienced, because they're still basically freshmen and sophomores who got plenty of experience last year as freshmen and 8th graders. But they're still really young, and
Mount Everett's generally pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Mount Everett's good. Mount Everett's
two
real.
senior pitchers. They have a junior catcher, I think, who's already committed somewhere for college.
Would that be Carpenter?
No, Carpenter plays maybe first base.
Plays first base. Plays
Jacob
a little.
Crease, I think, is going. To New England.
Plays first base. Plays shortstop.
Okay.
And will pitch a little too.
I believe Crease is probably one of the better catchers in the county. At least generally most experienced catchers.
One of the more experienced. Christian Aldrich at Taconic. The 1-2 punch at Pittsfield.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Jackson Almeida.
Yep.
He's one of them.
And Connor Devine.
Right.
The 1-2. The 1-2 punch.
Feliciano is, I believe, back at Drury.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last night Rick Parrish tells me he had to convert Cole Witherell to catcher.
Yeah,
because he lost two catchers.
Fast, yeah.
Well, two guys he was counting on. Mm-hmm. One of them's injured. One of them's playing lacrosse. So and he said Cole did a pretty good job for his first game.
Does that mean Jake Newberry's at first?
I haven't seen him.
I'll try and look that one up because he's like an offensive lineman type kid, which often goes at catcher, but maybe I could imagine that goes to first base as well. Mount Greylock won 19-4 over Granby, and that was they won in 3.5 innings, so they didn't have to do. James Bayless got the win, innings. But didn't have to do much. Cole Witherell, Jake Newberry was left field. There you go. Pretty good wrestler too. But so last year obviously Pittsfield baseball goes to the state final, Pittsfield softball goes to the Final Four, and I don't think any other baseball team even makes it past the quarterfinal round. Is that right?
I think that sounds right, and I think Pittsfield's got a legitimate chance to go back.
Okay, so I agree, and I think we all are in agreement that Pittsfield has a chance to make another run. Baseball-wise, who else could make a run to the Final Four?
Rick Parrish, very optimistic about Mount Greylock, and that's in Division 5.
Right.
Because the thing is, when you have a legitimate ace, that helps, and Bayless is a legitimate ace at that, in Division 5. You start there. I don't know who else. I think there are a lot of teams.
Drury's got to be coming in just like Drury, in my opinion, has to come in like angry. Like you have to be real angry about how last year ended, and you have to just come out kind of and eviscerate everybody. Like this is it. You have to kind of go. You have those two arms. You have a bunch of hitters back as well from a very, very good team last year that just like straight up you lost to McCann Tech in the Western Mass Final.
Yeah,
you lost to your rival.
Who happens to be a very good baseball team.
Sure, yes. McCann definitely graduated a lot, and Drury also. That Western Mass Final. They made several errors that cost them big time. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of like a big moment. I think they kind of froze up a little bit, and hopefully this year they know what to expect, know what to do. I agree. I think they could be pretty good, especially since they're in Division 5.
And be careful. Don't sleep on the Hornets. I saw them in the first game
against Lennox.
Yeah, against Lennox, which has become one of the better rivalries in Berkshire County. Just the baseball rivalry. It's the schools don't. It's not like there's any kind of a school thing or anything. But these games, the last 3 years, have been tight, well-contested games. And I was joking on the way out with one of the Lennox assistant coaches and said, if you play every game in an hour and 25 minutes, I'll come to every game.
Yeah.
Because that was the first game, an hour and 25.
By the way, folks, Mike said all that while standing up and rocking the baby. So that was just
pro at this point.
Yeah, he's a professional
this
father
microphone
over
doesn't
there.
go any higher is my issue.
You got to
I'm not
squat.
a tall man, so
You got to squat. You got to spread your legs
I do
and.
have to do a little, yeah.
No, actually,
Sumos.
what he looks like here is a major market disc jockey, because they all stand now.
This is true, yeah.
It's
if
true.
if I had a tank top on, I could be that guy on a kicker, McAfee.
Oh,
Doesn't he wear like a tank
that
top?
idiot. That idiot. Yeah, he's a punter. He's not even real.
Punter.
Not
Sorry,
even
he
a real
wasn't
kicker. In any case, okay. I like Greylock. I like Drury. I'm wondering, what do we feel about Wacona? And
So
and
yeah, we should
Taconic
mention. Yeah, we were
in
just
terms of
talking
making
like
runs.
teams that have a true ace.
Yeah, and
Wacona has the
Wacona
D1 ace.
has
yeah.
the ace.
Right, they got James Rabuse going to D1, going to Northeastern, and he's only a junior too.
Yes. I was told yesterday that Rutgers was hot on him, and he chose Northeastern, which academically is probably better. And
Sure.
it's not as much professional baseball.
Yeah, no, if you don't want to be like a full-time baseball player, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you don't want to play in the Big Ten where you're hopping on an airplane every weekend.
Right.
Although I think Northeastern hops on a bunch of airplanes too, because
In
a
any
lot
case-
of the CAA, a lot of the Coastal Athletic Association is south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Right. In any case, Wacona.
But when you have him, he pitched really well in their first game. They didn't win, but not on him.
That's kind of what my concern is that when he's pitching, Wacona will be up, 2-0, and when he's not pitching, they'll lose 5-2.
Again, they have a bunch of guys who can throw. None of them are James Rabuse. But Steve Messina's pretty happy with his team. Happy with the play of some new guys. One of them is basketball player Sam McLaughlin, who stopped playing baseball like 3 years ago and played AAU in the spring. Came back this year and will pitch and play shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, Southwick is good. That's who they lost to in the first game. They lost 4-0. It was just kind of one of those things where you look at it and Rabuse pitches 5 innings, gives up 2 earned runs, strikes out 13, and they lose 4-0. And it's
Well, the other thing of that, Jess,
tough.
and you know
Yeah.
this because you've watched baseball and we've all watched this in April. Pitching's always ahead of hitting.
sure.
The hitting will come back. Even though Pittsfield scored a bunch of runs yesterday, they didn't crush the ball. There weren't a lot of extra base hits. And can the city of Pittsfield get the fence up
Yeah.
at Clapp Park? Because I was laughing with Bill Gregory, one of the umpires, and he's been umpiring for a long time, and we remember when there was no fence in left field at Clapp Park for baseball. And it was, ground ball home runs.
Hit and run.
And I was just hoping for a ground ball home run.
All right, well, we don't have much time left, so I'll just real quick say, 'cause I've seen some softball. Lennox beat Lee. Once again, offense a little bit of a challenge for Lee. We'll see how they can do moving forward. Lennox, I'm starting to buy stock in them. They're pretty young, but they're very experienced. They have 2 arms, which is really, really valuable. They're a pretty good hitting team. They are 2-0 to start the season, beat Lee, beat Drury. Pittsfield was going to play Hoosick. That game kind of got postponed because of the cold and the rain. They beat Drury yesterday. This is softball once again. They won 12-6. Nevaeh Lopez, crazy game. 2 doubles and a triple. Ella Bassi had a double and a home run. And Pittsfield now I'm kind of more confident with, just because the young kids seem to have stepped up. They have a huge game on Saturday against Greenfield, which is a state championship caliber program, won back-to-back titles in D5, has won, I think, 2 or 3 straight titles in Class C in Western Mass. And then Wacona is a team I just wasn't sure what to expect from them coming into the season. They had a lot of new pieces. They were very young last year, so if kids took a step forward, I could see good things. And Hopkins Academy is usually a very solid softball program. I think 3 years ago they went to either the Final Four or the state final, and Wacona kind of handled them 7-1. So
I was interested in reading about that game, because I don't do a lot of softball. But wasn't Sammy Cayley their pitcher last year?
She was one of them. They had 3, which
they
is
just
why
kinda
I have
settled.
confidence in them. Sammy Cayley, Mariah Barnes, Marley Arnold, and now they have a new one whose name I'm now forgetting.
Harper Key?
Harper Key.
And then
He's a freshman.
and when I read that and saw that and said, "Oh, wait a second, Dustin may have another pitcher."
Yeah, he has a lot of pitchers. He has a lot of arms, and
You know,
that's
it's
very
interesting in
valuable.
softball because you don't need a lot of arms.
No.
Because
But he has them.
I can remember.
You
know,
can't remember. You have 10 seconds.
Okay, one time a college team threw a pitcher. They ended up with a triple header. Pitcher pitched all 3 games, which doesn't happen in baseball.
And we are out.